everybody, this is Aminus, who is back from holidays. Hope you missed me, hope you are doing very well today. We're doing episode 149 of Aminus Designs here on Responsible Gaming, preparing for the big 150 next week. There's a few cameos and secrets about next week that I inserted in this episode. I'll tell you a little bit more at the end as well. But for now, we're going to look into old magic cards that are considered a little broken, and see if we can do anything to fix them. This is stemming from one challenge that I've been given today, or at least that has been mentioned today that I want to take on, is try and make the card Sherazad not completely stupid. So we're gonna make not stupid Sherazad. She's spelled, I don't know if that's, I mean there's many spellings of this name, I guess. So it's quite the tall order. What I think is important to make a Sherazad is mythic. I think is a given. Well, actually, depending on how we unbreak it, it might actually be a rare. What I think is important is not to force the player to have an entire subgame of Magic, quite obviously, because it's a complete mess. But we want to make them have some sort of a tiny subgame still. So my idea is do something along the lines of maybe strip them down of their creatures but one, or something like that, and call the game, the subgame, once somebody loses some life, maybe, or make them. My first idea was make their life total 5, and then when somebody dies, the subgame is over. But that's pretty annoying. For one, because 5 life, you never know what kind of board you're going to be looking at, and 2, you need to reset the life totals, and that's kind of annoying to put in a template of a card. So my idea would be right now, consider that they lost the subgame when the first point of life is lost. Now, problem being that how I think we still have a bunch of the issues of Sherazad when we do this. For one, if we go with my idea of everybody getting one creature, there could be already a board stall, and you don't really know what to do. Especially if the 2 creatures can block each other, then the first one to attack gets blocked, and then the other one attacks and it's over. But well, I guess the good part is, if I do go with my idea of keeping only one creature, then the board stall is not as likely to be 1, present, and 2, consistent and here to stay, as not as consistent as if all the creature was stayed on the board, because a normal board could be any sort of board that could last forever. A board with 1 creature each could be a board stall, but not like, plus or minus 1 creature could be not a stall anymore. I think it's less stable in nature than a board with I don't know how many creatures. So we have 2 things to do: is how abusable is the mechanic, and 2, how likely is it to last forever? Because I think this is the one biggest issue with Sherazad, is it takes absolutely bloody forever to do anything. So that's a very important part. So abusable, let's look at it after. So what do I think happens if I let each player have 1 creature and then call the game when the first person loses life? So do I think one creature each is going to last forever? I mostly do not, especially if you I actually intended on stripping them of their cards. Actually, that's the opposite. That's going to make it last longer. But I figured, oh man, there's so many things to. No, that's fine. I'm thinking of subcases already. So everybody has a creature. Then people are gonna start top decking cards. They're gonna potentially remove opponent's creature, and like ultimately somebody is gonna lose a life. Hopefully, that's sudden death. I mean, that's how I would fix it. That's my first thing. It's fine, but I'm not fully happy with it. I'm not quite satisfied. Now, when I discussed this on the original thread on which it was mentioned, I said that all the way down to the most simple version of this, we have Clash, I think. So in Clash is this mechanic where when you cast the spell, you are going to reveal the top card of your library up until the both player reveal a non-land, I think, is how it works. And as soon as somebody has, and we compare the converted mana cost, and one person wins. Extremely simple. But Sherazade wants you to play a mini game. So the other thing that I could see is make the win condition of that game be either lose a life or lose a creature. How do you like that? First person who loses life or a creature loses the minigame. I think so. This first person to lose a creature or life, I think, makes the subgame not last forever. I think that satisfies this condition pretty well. Now, the second question is, how abusable is it? It is quite abusable. All you need to do is make sure you play that new Sherazade in a deck with a bunch of removal, or a deck that's most likely to have their own creatures not die, or a bunch of unblockable creatures, and then you're done. One safeguard that I will probably put in the card is when you play Sherazade, end your turn. You don't want the person to play Sherazade and win on the spot. That sounds dumb. The other thing that I was thinking that could be a problem is cast a removal. No, cast Sherazade, and while the effect is on the stack or whatever, or in response, put a removal targeting one of the opponent's creature. In that case, you would do that so that you're sure that their only creature dies when Sherazade resolves. But it's not possible, because no matter how you do this, if you try and play, be tricky and play two at the same time on the stack, the opponent can very well say, well, I'm going to pick another creature to have survive. And yes, they will need to pick a smaller creature, but that's obviously the case. If you remove their creature, then they can only work with whatever they have left. And the last part of making sure the new Sherazade not abusable, I think, would be that we need to make sure, if the effect is small, we need to make sure the gain from gaining the minigame is small, and we can do that if and because we made the minigame not last forever. Because if you make a minigame that lasts forever and the upside is small, God, is that a terrible card. So let's see how we would do something like this. What I think I want the new Sherazade to be is an enchantment, because I mean, old-fashioned, you could say, well, start a new game, and then if somebody wins, blah blah blah. But nowadays, what a weird card would that be? A sorcery that says everybody keeps one creature, and the first person who loses a creature or one life then get to do something in one sorcery card. Weird memory issue, isn't it? I'm gonna make this a legendary enchantment because why not? That will make sure that we don't try and play a sub-game within a sub-game, which sounds like mind-boggling. With the new Sherazade, I actually don't know for a fact that it is all that much mind-boggling, actually. Because, well, let's see. So the text should be starting from you. Yeah, let's give another downside. Starting from you, each player chooses up to one creature they control. Let me check out the text for Gear Hulk. When into the battlefield, each player chooses an artifact creature something along those lines, but we're gonna make it somewhat different. Each player chooses a creature from among the non-permanents from you don't need to say non-land, right? Why then sacrifices the rest? Oh, because a creature from among the non-permanent he or she controls then sacrifices the rest. I think this is meant to say I want all the actually exiles. What I want is to exile also the artifact, the enchantments, and etc. So I think the fact that it says non-land permanent here makes sure that the rest refers to non-land permanents. Therefore, you choose a creature and you exile the rest, not only the rest of your creature, but the rest of your non-land permanents. That's how I'm reading it. I think that's why it says non-land here, because obviously the choice that he was making you on the Gear Hulk was non-lands, I guess. Interesting. No, it's not that obvious actually, because you could have an artifact land or a creature land, but Cataclysmic Gear Hulk says you cannot pick a creature land or an artifact land. That's within the card. I don't think the goal is to make you not pick artifact lands and creature lands. That sounds completely insane. I think the goal is that you sacrifice the other permanents. And to keep going into my ramblings, I don't know that it's actually relevant, because what other permanence is there than artifact, creature, enchantment, planeswalker? That might also be so that because they want to cover whatever new type of permanent they're going to create in the future, because someday there will be a new one. So my goal is that all the other permanents gets exiled, not only the creatures. Maybe I got the template wrong for that. Let's you know what? I'm just gonna change it. Then exiles all other permanents he or she controls and all cards in his or her hand. End of turn. That's also a thing. Whenever... that's gonna be annoying to write as well, isn't it? Oh, sorry. Oh, hey, Adam. Using a Magic Set Editor. Magic Set Editor is a very good software for making cards. It's pretty sweet. You can find it on Windows, and some people have managed to make it work on other platforms, though I have not tried. But it's really pretty sweet. That's going to be very tricky to explain the... Actually, let me check how Sherazade herself... Sherazade So Sherazad says each player who doesn't win the sub game. Yeah, right. There is not quite a sub game in our case. So let me check Lenstil now, because Lenstil is also actually sort of. Oh, it's not called Lenstil. Standstill. Is it Standstill? Correct. So Standstill is also some sort of a minigame. Whenever a player casts a spell, if you may sacrifice a spell, if you do, each of that player's opponent draws 3 cards. So when a player, I guess it's when a player loses life or puts a creature from his or her, I'm sorry, it's kind of annoying. Whenever a player loses life or puts a creature from his or her from the battlefield, or whenever a player loses life or a creature he or she controls dies, sacrifice this stupid card. It's still a stupid card, but it's possibly not broken. Each, yeah, it's pretty messy though. Each of that player's opponents probably. So what do we win? Big question, what do we win? So originally I wanted to add a choose one in there and have like 2 or 3 prizes. That is not gonna happen here. There is way too much text already. I wonder if this could be over. Whoops. Can I redo? Redo. I'm gonna pretend this can be here because it's gonna give me some space. Barely. So blah blah blah, then return all. It's actually not quite supported. Then exiles all other permanents Yoshi control and all cards in his or her hand. So that's also not supported by the rules. I mean, it makes it clearer here, but I don't think there's a, you can really separate into separate, separate into 2 different piles within the rules. I'm not sure. Then return all cards. Exile. Yeah, well, that doesn't smell like a blatant victory over here when the wall of text is still completely ridiculous. But I guess I tried. Starting from you, each player chooses a creature from a non-permanent he or she control and exile all other permanent he or she control and all cards in his or her hand in 2 separate piles. End of turn. When a player loses life or a creature he or she controls dies, sacrifice each of that player's opponent, do something, then return all cards exiled with not stupid Sherazade respectively to the battlefield and into their owner's hand. You know, it's, I mean, this would need to say under their owner's control and into their owner's hand, which is not that much worse, but still pretty bad. Now the problem is we still won't have the price of our minigame. What should it be? What should it be? So, Enter the Dungeon is a card of the sort, and it makes you search for a card from your deck, and this one could do the same. I don't think it needs to be legendary because, as it is, if you play one on top of another, nothing is going to change. Everybody is still going to be put back down to one creature, and then if anybody loses a creature or life, the 2 Sherazade are going to be destroyed, sacrificed, and then the person who lost will lose twice, which is fine. Like, you actually would much rather the 2 minigame happen at the same time rather than you finish a minigame and then a second minigame happens. That would be a complete pain. So what can be the prize? Actually, remember one thing. This to implement this card is extremely long and complicated and wordy, but we still kind of think that the minigame won't be that long, because all you do is you put all the permanents aside, and the first person who loses a creature or life loses. So what could you win? I'm in a bit of, I'm in between both. I could do something like I hate to put search your library for a card in there because it's gonna add a ton more text again. Enter the dungeon says players may play a magic sim game under the table starting at 5 life in the library as a deck. After the game, the winner searches his or her library for 2 cards, put those cards into a hand and shuffles his or her library. Plus the thing is, why would you bother with this ridiculous card if why you bother with this stupid card if it's just to fetch one card? Like, why would you play a mini game just to fetch one card? And on top of that, yeah, it's just too much text. How about each of that player's opponent how'd you like that? It would be a complete mess for multiplayer. So a person in a circle of people would lose, and every other one should take a turn after that, which we would solve by saying, okay, they all take a turn, and then they all take a turn again, and then the person who lost can play. I guess that's possible. That would be so freaking annoying, though. But you know what? I don't particularly care making a card that's completely insane. And here's the card again. In Commander, even if people decide to either ban it officially or ban it in house rules, Commander is, I mean, things that are insane in Commander are, this is what it is. So I kind of like this because it is somewhat simple. I think this card is going to be called like something like Story Time. And as it is, it should be a I don't know, maybe something like, oops, something like that. It's a mix of you cannot really make a gain extra turn cost less than 5, and 5 is already pretty darn cheap. But at the same time, if you impose the person to play a mini game, and if they lose it, then the opponent gets an extra turn. Oh boy. That being said, those cards, you usually have to evaluate them within a deck that wants to play them, a deck that wants to get around them and actually be the one who wins the turn. Because you need to make sure in that case it is reasonable. In a case where you don't know who is more likely to win the turn, it is a terrible card, and that's fine. It's expected. It needs to be. You need to know what you're doing to get, as it is a time something, the one that costs 5. Yeah, I don't remember the one with the big wave in the illustration. I remember this one. That gains you 5 life for 2 color and the same price. I don't have time now. We've wasted enough time. But if you look it up, there is a 3 blue, I think, that makes you gain a turn. Let's move on, shall we? I think this is as good as we're gonna get. I thought I would have a slightly easier time, and it turns out to be a little worse than I wanted. But this wall of text is almost acceptable. Almost? Sorta. Almost. I do think that the answer is it's not acceptable, but I thought it would be a slightly simpler. Let's turn on the light, shall we? So, I don't know if that changes anything for you. Now, we have a second design to do. So, I do not know which one to fix. I've started thinking a bit about the Power 9 and cards that would be first pick in Rotisserie Draft. Those cards are Black Lotus has been fixed to be a Gilded Lotus by simply adding 5 to the mana cost of the card. Go figure, Black Lotus is busted. Moxes are fixed by adding 2 to the converted mana cost. I think that's probably the only way they've been fixed, or the most straightforward way they've been fixed. Soul Ring has been fixed. I don't know, Litho Force or various. Actually, I don't know if there's that many mana that. Oh, that's awesome. Ebola American. Okay, cool. Ebola American's got an attempt at a Sherazade. We're gonna have a quick check at it. Oh my god. Yes, there's text. There's text. Let's see quickly. Look at this. Thanks, Ebola American. It's a split. Oh, I've seen that one before. Yeah, I think I remember it. Split second, singularity cannot be copied. Blah blah blah. Oh, there's so much. Subgame using library of the deck. Then I I think you've been explaining how to lose a subgame a little too much, maybe. When the subgame ends, players use the remaining library for the main game or other some game. Oh, and the life total becomes 3. Each player wins a subgame may choose one of the following. Oh, you did what I didn't want to add more text. Choose the following, draw 10 cards. Oh my god, so you put somebody to 3 and then you make them having a very powerful effect. Well, you're gonna be very happy you win that subgame. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Split second. See, the thing with well, I mean, I'm sure there's ways to abuse that card by putting something on the stack in response, but yeah, actually there probably are. Like if you put some sort of instant speed wrath, then actually I put end of turn in there though. Oh god, I have no idea how that would work. Yeah, it's probably broken. Let me just ignore that because we're 30 minutes in and we were on our way to the second card. We tried. It might be salvageable, but I think yeah, I just thought split second depending on what the condition is to the end of your sub game, I might not care that you put something on the stack in response to playing story time, and I thought just exiling all creatures would solve that, but it might not be the case because all creature dies in response to story time, and then somebody loses the game on the spot. And it's fine if it's you because that's your fault for playing the card. It's not good if you can just be like, okay, well, I have an instant speed card and a story time, I just cast both and I win the effect. And actually, seeing that mine only gets you an extra turn and 5 life, if you want to make a 2 combo card for that, actually I think we might be good. But I'll still move on anyways. So as I was saying, there's many cards that have actually been fixed. Time Vault, actually Time Vault, that's probably a big gold artifact that gives you an extra turn. Time Twister has definitely been fixed. Oh, now I wonder, let me check. We're losing a lot of time, but I do want to see. I'm gonna look for an artifact that makes you gain a turn. There is several of them, but I want one that basically taps itself to gain a turn. So extra turn, and type is artifact. So we have put charge counter on Magistrate's Scepter, remove 3 counter, take an extra turn. So that's basically a way of fixing it. Sacrifice 5 artifact, gets a turn. Time Vault, we know it. Time Sifter. At the beginning of your keep, each player exile a top card of the library. The player will exile the card with the highest command mana, takes an extra turn. What? Oh my god, this is a mess. Time Sifter? Are you banned? It is legal everywhere. So I get it's gonna be such a mess though, like all the time extra turn, extra turn, extra turn. Ugh. Okay, well, never mind. Well, so I guess Time Vault hasn't been fixed, but you know what? I don't want to take this one on right now. I want to take something slightly different. So I had one idea. A card that is not ancient but is still positively broken and picked extremely early in drafts. In Rotisserie draft, the draft where you can pick any cards of all magic as if you could, is Umezawa's Jite. So let's try. Oops. I just wanted to see artifact, equipment, where is it? Huh? Really? Oh, because it's equipment over here, isn't it? Sweet. Okay. We could, if we fix it well enough, we might be able to make it a living weapon, which would be pretty sweet. So let's check out quickly the text on Umezawa's Jite. Umezawa. I think Umezawa's JT is going to be pretty easy to fix. Umezawa's JT is going to need basically to maybe give you one counter and do smaller things, and we're going to be good to go. I think that's pretty doable to make a card that's not completely redonkulous. And you know, if we fix it just enough, it might be a standard playable anyways. So whenever equipped creature deals combat damage, we could say to a player, why not put, and let's put one, shall we? On card name. Remove a charge counter from card name, choose one. I think it's gonna be like a walk in the park. I mean, obviously, I don't mean to say that I'm gonna find the perfect balance, but I can make a card that's not busted. If anything, I might make a card that's not that great. So, have I put Storytime Mythic? Yes, and I think it should stay Mythic. So, remove a charge counter from count name, choose one. Equipped creature gets what? What does equipped creature get? So something that I would like, I think, is to actually say whenever equipped creature deals damage, combat damage to a player, and what I could do is say something like equipped creature gets +1/+1 and gains flying. Because it's cute, it makes you able to just give +1/+1 flying to a creature every turn and just hit, provided that you need to hit the first time around. And I think that's cool. And you could do something like draw a card, and how about just that, +1/+1 counter. Actually, you know what? So Umezawa's JT needs to hit once, and all of a sudden you give -2/-2 to a creature. Basically, my question is, can we put a +1/+1, a -1/-1 counter on target creature? I'm gonna put something like equip 3, and I'm gonna leave that as, was Umezawa JT a 1? No, it's a 2. This might be a 2 as well, because the fact that you can remove, like equip hurts more than the casting cost, I do believe. So this one is tricky. I think having to connect twice, actually it's kind of a win more card too. Like if you hit the opponent once, then his creatures are smaller, then you can keep on hitting. But I mean, cards have been known to be that ridiculous before. I mean, you know, like Swords of Fire or Sword of X and Y are pretty powerful and overwhelming, and this would only put 1 -1 counter turn, which is at the chapter of the very oppressive cards, maybe not all that bad in the end. Drawing a card is kind of abusable. You're gonna have some proliferate fun with that. Can't really imagine that is busted or even worth playing. I suppose in modern, is proliferate even in modern? But either way, probably is, yeah. So you know, we took Umezawa's JT, which is insane. We basically made all the modes less good, apart from the drawer card. That's actually quite excellent. No, actually we didn't make them all less good. This is probably less good. Actually, +1/+1 several times is going to be kind of annoying, isn't it? Because same, if you manage to... Well, no, the thing is you put one counter every time, and it's only combat damage to a player. Yeah, screw that. I mean, how bad can it be? Like, you need to connect with a player this time. It's not clearly not the same level of Umezawa. Look at this. 3 to equip, combat damage to a player, which is actually reasonably hard, and put 1 charge counter. Hopefully we fixed it. And I do agree I made the modes actually better. This is arguably better but less good. This is better than the Umezawa's GT mode. This is better than Umezawa's GT mode. So there is definitely a risk still there. There's still definitely a risk. But again, starting with 0 counter, need to hit the enemy, and then you'll get basically your card, which is I want to say amphibian, but is that that's a different word, right? Because it sounds like amphibian. Ophidian. Oh, you know, hit a player to draw a card, basically. So hit a player to draw a card, fine. Hit a player to keep hitting a player, well, that makes this a +1/+1 flying equipment. Alright. And hit a player to put a -1/-1 somewhere, fine. So actually, unless you cheat with it, I don't see this going very far at all. Especially the fact that it deals combat damage to a player, actually. That's probably what kills it the most. Double strike creature, I like where you're going with that, that's fun. Yeah. I'm almost thinking, well, actually, equip creature gets +1/+1. I'm actually kind of okay with leaving it unequipped cheap, because you cannot actually use it the way you use them as a GT. The only thing you could do with that is hit with a creature and then +1/+1 flying to another one, but you cannot gain a counter again because it's combat damage to a player. So we might be able to keep it as this is definitely pushing it, but I think it might also be acceptable. That's fun. That's fun. I like this. This is definitely something that we could spend a lot of time balancing, because it is still a mini planeswalker, as Umezawa's GT is. Yeah, it's a tiny planeswalker. And I say that because of the modes, basically. The same way Deathrite Shaman is a pretty sweet planeswalker, Umezawa's GT is as well. This one, it might be a fine one. If you're making 3 to equip, maybe give the equipped creature trample and give it a chance to get counters. Oh, I see. Well, the thing that one of the main thing that I wouldn't like with giving trample is it is I don't think of a flavor that would be like get trample and then do a bunch of weird stuff. I think I probably will want to stay in the kind of tool, possibly go back to Kamigawa kind of thing. Somehow I would actually possibly consider Skulk. Skulk would mean... Skulk would be weird. Yeah, I don't know. It's food for thought. I think I would gladly tweak it around for a while and find different modes and etc. As it stands, it's kind of how we do in Ominous Designs. This is a hopefully 30 minutes, hopefully not an hour design session. So I am not going to go all the way down to an extremely good version of this. I'm obviously not going to playtest anything. So I think I'm happy, leave it as that, and by all means do come back with a lot of different other versions and do riff on this card and make your own. I'll be happy for somebody to spawn a better version of this. Yeah, but I think it's underpowered actually as it is, because it's a card that does nothing to help you connect and then only helps you keep connecting or drawing a card because you connected, which is, you know, not a good card. Like something that says good job, you hit the player, now draw a card, is not something extremely powerful. And I actually would like to put Skulk, but the one thing that I don't like is having Skulk combined with +1/+1 flying. I think it's quite awkward, but it's actually underpowered as it is. It's fine. You know, two things. Like I said, we can work more on it later and make it better. Two, give a little bit of room for player to find a way to buzz the card. It sounds like it's underpowered, and maybe somebody combine this with, well, I mean, they can just combine this with a Skulk or with whatever, and then start getting their counters going. I don't think it would be worth it still, but either way, we can just consider in our minds that this card could have Trample, Skulk, flying by default, and only getting +1/+1, or X, Y, and Z. Let your imagination run free. It is actually almost an hour now, so we're gonna call it. It's been fun. I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for being around, Able American. It's been fun. Do like and subscribe, and tell me all you think about those cards, and give me your own design inspired on those ones. That'd be very interesting. That was actually pretty cool, having a two-man design session over here. Yes, next week, 150, big episode. 2 teasers. I'm gonna have guests, probably S, and we're gonna do some design reviews as well on designs that are not mine. I might have said a little too much. That's about it though for this week. Next week will be the big one. It'll be longer and it'll be faster, stronger, and we'll have a lot of fun. It's good to be back. Thanks for watching. I shall see you next week. Until then, play responsibly. And this is where I cut the YouTube video.